So this woman is one of the most infamous criminals of all time. This is Griselda Blanco, and she's from Medellin, Colombia. So it's 1954 and Griselda's 11 years old, and she starts her life of crime as a pickpocket. Then later she's like, this is getting old. Then she decides she's gonna kidnap another boy her age and keep him hostage for ransom. But his parents didn't take it seriously, so she shot him dead. 2 years later, Griselda gets a boyfriend, Carlos, and he's a human trafficker. And during the next 5 years, he teaches Griselda passport forgery, and she becomes the expert at creating fake identities. So Carlos and Griselda, together, they smuggle thousands of people into the United States. By the time Griselda's only 19 years old, she's already married to Carlos with 3 kids. And they divide a lot of their time between Colombia and New York. But one day, Carlos just dies. And at this point, Griselda's only 27 years old and she's grieving. Well, you'd think so, but she's already found his replacement. Another gangster, Alberto. But he doesn't smuggle people. He smuggles the white stuff. And together, Griselda and Alberto, they plan to take over America. And they move their snow business all the way from Medellin to New York. How did they do this? Well, let me explain. So they buy snow in Bolivia and Peru and transport it through the unguarded borders of Colombia. They then would hide the snow in garments that could easily be worn by women. And Griselda, she gets women to dress their best and put on their best show. Cause who's gonna guess an attractive young woman is wearing $10,000 worth of snow in her bra? And just like that, they smuggle snow into New York. This was going on for some time and no one would guess a woman was behind all of this. Until the rise of snow gets the attention of New York's police department. And they set up an undercover operation to hunt down the source. And 2 years into investigating, they get a hold of this guy, a small-time dealer. And I don't know his name, so let's just call him Juan. Juan was facing 30 years in prison, so he had no choice but to talk, because he wants a few years knocked out of a sentence. And boom, he drops the name of this girl, Lila Parada. And that's when the cops wire her whole house, but she spoke in code all the time, so getting any information was very difficult. However, 2 names are mentioned a lot, and that's Carmen and Gloria. And they're already facing time in prison for snow trafficking, so they must know something. But these women, they were way too scared to say anything, until the cops give them a sweet deal. That's when the police discover that this whole time, a woman was behind the biggest snow trafficking of all time, Griselda Blanco. And even though they know her name, they still don't know what she looks like, because she hid herself very well under fake documents and moving in and out of the country. And when Griselda finds out that they're on the lookout for her, she flees back to Colombia, where it's impossible to track her down. But it turns out the cops weren't the only ones that wanted Griselda. Someone even wanted her dead, and that was Pablo Escobar. Each of them had his or her team of assassins after the other. So Griselda, she comes up with one of her signature moves, the motorcycle drive-by. And this is what keeps Pablo Escobar at bay. And now Griselda, she's busy killing her husband Alberto, because she thinks he's cheating on her and skimming some profits. So now people call her the Black Widow. But Escobar, he kills some police officers and bribes some officials so that they can secure Medellin airport as his own. So this made it impossible for Griselda to be in Medellin or even travel to the States. And again, she had no choice but to vanish into thin air. And the investigators, they have no leads for an entire year. And at this point, the DA are wondering if she's out of the business or if she's dead. But in 1976, she makes a comeback. And this time, her business is making $80 million a month. And Griselda, she's more violent than ever. She orders 200 revenge attacks every month. So now it's clear to the DEA that Griselda is alive, but they have no idea where she is. Until in 1983, they find this guy, and his name is Jerry, and he's in jail for snow trafficking, and he also knows Griselda's 3 sons from her first marriage because he sold them some motorcycles. So the DEA want to get him out of his 10-year sentence so he can go undercover and try to work for Griselda. So Jerry gets in contact with Griselda's youngest son, Dixon, and he offers to launder money for them across their national network. And Dixon thinks this is great and has no idea he's being set up. And he even gives away that his mum's always in the mood between Miami and LA. And 3 weeks later, Jerry gets a call from Griselda Blanco herself. And she sets up to meet Jerry in a Los Angeles hotel. They meet and Jerry literally loses his and he can barely form a sentence. And so Griselda, she doesn't trust him and she leaves. And the only piece of information they got was where Griselda lived. And that's when, boom, they break into her mansion, and after 10 years, they arrest Griselda Blanco. She faces 35 years in prison and gets deported back to Colombia. And after 5 years of hiding, she gets shot dead.